Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our 30 by 30. I'm Meredith Walker, the Executive Director at the Texas Business Hall of Fame. I know most of you, but we have some new award recipients on this call today. This is our first event of the fall. We've been on break for the summer, so I'm a little nervous. I hope I remember how to do this. I know Joseph will help us get through this. We're so pleased to have one of our legends here with us today as the feature of this talk, Dian Graves Stai, who was inducted into our organization in 2016. Now, I know a lot of you have read her bio we provided, but I just want to say a few things. In 1969, she founded Owen Healthcare with her husband, late husband, Gene, who had identified a gap in healthcare in terms of efficiency and relationships with pharmaceutical services. He was a hospital pharmacist. Dian, not knowing the industry, took the bull by the horns and headed up marketing. I think a lot of that, Dian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was relationship based. I think her relationship based approach is sort of one of her defining characteristics as a business leader. 10 years after founding Owen Healthcare with her late husband, he died unexpectedly. At the time, the company was struggling financially. Dian was under pressure to sell. She refused. She took the wheel as chairman, negotiated 22, if my research serves me correctly, hospital contracts, and she made Owen Healthcare what it is today. When she led the merger with Cardinal Health in the late 90s, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the second largest provider of pharmaceutical services in the United States. So, like all of our 30 by 30s, you're dealing with a true business rock star. And after merging her company, Dian took her same commitment to servant leadership to establish a foundation that supports a huge wide array of causes throughout the state of Texas, including the Texas Business Hall of Fame. So, of course, you all are familiar with our mission to recognize leaders who are not only transformational in business, but who do so much to give back to their communities. We recognized her for her contributions in this regard in 2016 with her induction into our organization. So, without further ado, Joseph, I'm going to turn this over to you. Joseph is a 2018 recipient of ours from the University of Texas. He did his undergraduate at West Point. A lot of you are familiar with his business podcast, Professionally Offensive. And if you haven't checked it out, I would encourage you to do so. He also hosts leadership and team building activities through adventure experiences. Is that correct, Joseph? Did I sum that up okay? I always worry.
Yeah, no, you nailed
But
it.
he's done so much, it would be hard to get through his entire resume. So, Joseph, thank you so much for moderating today, and let's get started.
Yeah, no, thanks, Meredith. Dian, stoked to talk with you today. So we'll just kick off. And typically the way these go, just to get us kind of back in the mood for folks who haven't been in this session before, we'll go through some rapid fire questions with Dian, and then we'll kind of open it up to you all. And so if you have any questions in the meantime, fire them off to Meredith. Just shoot her a note and just let her know, hey, I have a question. You don't have to tell her the question. Just let her know and she'll let me know. And then I'll make sure to call on you, and it kind of keeps things in the queue. But in the meantime, Dian, welcome. And let's kick off with what's been your greatest achievement to date? What's the thing you're most proud of?
Well, achievement, I'm going to assume we're all talking about business here today. So my greatest business achievement to me, after I took the company, over the company, we were in dire straits. My people built the company. So in 1984, I was able to establish an ESOP. Till that point, I had been the sole owner of the company. But the employee stock ownership plan that I instituted at that time was probably my greatest achievement. So that when I did merge with the Cardinal, many of my employees, pharmacists, secretaries, clerks, were also millionaires.
Wow, that's amazing. Was that kind of a pioneered thing to do back then, to kind of set up something like that? It seems more common now, but I got to imagine back in the day, maybe not so much.
It was not terribly common, and more importantly, I think it was often abused, that sole ownership would want to be exiting and was used to bail themselves out. And that was not my goal at all. It was just to reward, to meld, to honor those people who had built the company. So it was uncommon and worked out beautifully.
Well, I wish I was working for you, Diane, back in the day there. So
I wish you had been too. You're terrific.
Yeah. How about historical figures? Anybody you admire and really would love to meet or have met?
Been so lucky to meet so many people, but this question was provided to me in advance by Meredith. So I really I wanted to choose a woman, of course, but I'd have to say Marcus Aurelius is someone I greatly admire. One of the great Stoics.
Why is that, Meredith? You just kind of like, I mean, other than the way that he thought, and so many of us learned lessons from him, was there something that particularly helped you in your business journey with that individual, or that you'd like to meet, Marcus?
I like first of all, he didn't want to really be in the position he was in as emperor. He was sort of forced into it. He'd rather have been a philosopher. And I think that was sort of my case. I didn't feel like I wanted to be out front. And he was very humble. His humility was amazing. He saw in each person, he saw the good and the bad, melded and worked with that. And I don't know, he's just very interesting. Read his stuff.
You know, he's making a resurgence. There has been a lot of Stoic, particularly in business literature lately.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Marcus is making a comeback.
I think when we first started visiting Meredith, you told me that some things don't change. And, you know, here he was, 100 years AD, and his philosophy of honoring people, humility, the way he approached leadership, it's still good today.
Yeah. No, I really agree. And I agree with Meredith. It is really coming back in a really cool way to especially with the hard times ahead of us. It's kind of nice to be kind of rooted in some of that philosophy. How about somebody today that's a public figure, Diane? Anybody you admire?
You know, that gets kind of hard. With all of our communication, we know that we all have feet of clay, so it becomes a little more difficult. I did give some thought to people I admire, and most of them are not particularly well known. First of all, I do admire Franklin Graham, the ministry he's carried on. He was sort of forced into that position as well, and I do admire what he's done with that particular organization, Samaritan's Purse. Now, this gets way down as far as public recognition is concerned, but I do admire Katie McFarland. She was a ambassador and marvelous with international issues. Also, there's a very obscure New York congresswoman who always is true, very valid, Claudia Tenney. Now, those are obscure people, but they really exemplify my values.
Yeah, it seems like humility is a big fabric that runs through the things that folks you've said so far. Why is that such an important trait for you, Diane?
Isn't that interesting? It's important because it helps you empathize, identify to what other people are feeling who may be in a position titled less than yours. So I think that kind of humility says, okay. We had a wonderful experience once at a seminar I took my female employees on. I'm not sexist, but that's where I took them, to a spa. Anyway, and I wanted so much to be in this exercise class with Jean Kirkpatrick, but I didn't get assigned there. But one of my ladies did. And afterward, I said, tell me, what is she like? And she said, oh, she puts her leotards on one leg at a time, just like us. So we're all striving, we're all trying, and how could you not be humble?
Yeah, I love that. Treasured possessions, anything you hold dear to your heart?
Material? No.
Or not?
No. Stuff. You know, I hold relationships to be priceless. I really try to guard those. But as far as a possession or something, I love my ranch. But I didn't have it when I came into this world, so if it goes away, that's okay.
Yeah, I love that. Do you find it like when it comes to the possessions, was that something you always had in you, or did you kind of learn that later on in life that wasn't important?
I think it's always been part of my persona. My parents were very humble people. They were successful, but they were very humble, and they put their values into children and neighbors and that sort of thing rather than getting a car or something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's how it was reared.
How about like a North Star or personal motto, Diane, you live by? Is there something that's kind of carried with you for a while that kind of keeps you on track?
Don't quit.
Okay. I'm sure that became particularly handy in the early days. Fair enough. When and where are you most happiest? Where's your favorite place to be in the world, and when?
Right here. I love this ranch where I am. This is north of Fredericksburg, Texas, about 20 miles. And the house that I restored, I first saw when I was 6 years old, and it clicked, and I thought, I want to live there someday. And then time passed, and sure enough, I was able to buy it, restore it, and that's where I stay.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Just, of course, right now we're so dry and it's so dangerous because we can't even, go out in the fields because a spark or hot exhaust could start a fire. So it's tough right now, but it's still beautiful, peaceful.
Yeah, it'll come back. But yeah, the hill country is hard to beat in Texas.
Always does.
It always does. Absolutely. How about talent? Anything you wish you were really great at, or maybe you're okay at and wish you were just even a little better than that? Anything you wish you had?
I'll tell you something I just don't have at all that I sort of respect and envy: a singing voice. I love to hear, well, my husband has a beautiful singing voice. He's always singing and whistling, even at 5 a.m., but that's not so good. But also we love the opera. I do love music, and I cannot carry a tune at all.
Well, other than singing, then, like if there was something else you could change about yourself, what would that be?
Oh, I know one thing that here's one of my big faults. I procrastinate. And that is, what's that old slogan? It's the thief of time. If you don't get into something, you're burning time. And so that habit of mine is something I have to really work on.
Yeah. Somebody told me one time that the beginning part of procrastination is important, but the end part isn't. Like if you hesitate on something, that might mean something, but you still got to go do something about it. Yeah. Love that. Okay. Well, last one. And for anybody here who's got some questions, please feel free to fire into Meredith. So this is the last one here on the docket. If you had a habit that you thought is the most important, especially for anybody in business or an operator of a company or whatever, what is that trait that you feel like is most key to your success or to one's success for getting their company and team where they need to be?
Well, I've mentioned one of my faults, procrastination, of course. And I've also said, don't quit. But I think the other thing is I have a high threshold, high tolerance for risk. And I think you have to have that to take first and final steps in anything you do. But I mean, I do have a high tolerance for risk, and I'm not afraid.
I mean, do you feel like you had no choice in the early days, which is why you had to kind of build that tolerance for risk? Or did you always have it even from a young age? Like you're always okay being a little bolder than the average?
I think I was always somewhat bold in my choices and not fearful. But when I had to take control of the company, I had some big steps to make. And that really enhanced my core belief of risk tolerance and developed it further. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, any great entrepreneur has to be able to step in the darkness and be able to get their folks behind them to believe in it, even if maybe deep inside you're kind of shivering a little bit. But no, thank you, Diane, for those rapid fire questions. We got a few here in the queue here, so we're going to kick off. for those, when I just call on you, just to kind of set the stage, just please introduce yourself quickly and who you are, when you're awarded, if you were an awardee, and then just kind of what you do, what's your company or your profession that you're with, and then go ahead and ask your question. So first on deck here is Anna Alvarez. I hope I said that right.
Yes, you did. So, hi, Dan. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It's been amazing. So, my name's Anna Alvarez. This year, I was the recipient of the Harvey Najum Future Texas Business Legend Award. I'm an MBA student. I'm also first gen, and I'm the founder and owner of Social Sophie Marketing LLC. Had it for 7 years now. Worked with tons of clients. So, been an entrepreneur since a young age. So, my question is, what's like one thing that you wish someone had told you when you were my age? Or are there certain things that I should be doing or skills that I need to be learning to help me prepare for my future career path?
I'm going to veer away a little bit from your question, just to say how intimidated I am by the resumes that I received regarding those of you on the call today. I'm just awed. I had none of that experience, that education that you have. It's just most impressive. But I do think in my younger years, I underestimated myself and did not try to reach as far as I could have. Now, when I was forced into it, I went, oh yeah, I can do this. So anyway, I would just say, once again, back to risk. Don't be afraid to try. What else?
Thanks, Anna. Great question. All right. Let's see here. Next on deck is TJ. Are you here with us? Hey, TJ.
Yes. Hey, I'm TJ Fallon. I'm based in College Station, Texas. I'm in the medical technology space. I'm working on a medical device to diagnose eye diseases using machine learning and like a headset. So really excited to hear everything you've shared today. A question I have is, you've had to have many conversations with different people, oftentimes maybe not so easy conversations. So this is something that I've always kind of struggled with every time. So do you have any tips on handling difficult conversations, whether it's within your team or otherwise?
Well, if you can't push it off onto someone else to do, then you have to deal with it. So, and you're right. There are times when I just think, oh, if I could only just jump off a cliff instead of having to have this meeting. Particularly, I'm referring to personnel issues. That is so difficult because every time I've had to counsel and let someone go from our organization, I have a sense of failure. Where did I not do the right thing to support this person? So once I get over that, then you have to move on. Now, I have unfortunately had to let some people go in the past. Many times they've come back and said it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Many people get stuck in kind of a dead-end rut, and they don't have the strength to change that until something dramatic intervenes, such as losing your job. And so every now and then you realize the good. Well, there again, back to Marcus Aurelius. He saw the good and the bad melded in everyone. And so how we help them achieve that good is, and it's hard. It's tough when you've got someone you've been working with, they're trying, they're doing their best, and either they're not capable in that arena and you can't find another fit for them. Let them go. And relationships are everything. So let them go in a way that a relationship can still be built wherever they go.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question? Was that the sort of thing you were wondering?
Yeah, exactly. You did.
Yeah, those interpersonal things are tough.
Yeah, it never gets easy.
Always tough.
Yeah, and they never have a good class for that. That's not like something you get to learn even going through an MBA or a program or whatever. That's typically the thing that when you get right into your venture, you're like, okay, that's the one thing I didn't get taught, how to tell somebody that. Asmara is our next up on deck. And we actually looks like we have quite a few folks that want to ask questions there. So Diane, I hope you maybe have a few minutes, if you don't mind going over. Do you have a hard stop by chance at 30 after?
No, I'm fine. I'm retired. Well, I'm officially retired.
That's perfect. Okay. Sounds good. We just want to
Don't
make sure
quit.
we're being respectful of your time. So
Thank you. No, my time is yours today.
perfect. Asmara, go ahead and kick it off.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. My name is Asmara Hagos. I'm in the Dallas area. I got my MBA from University of North Texas, just graduated in May, and I'm the recipient of the Texas Business Hall of Fame Award this year, 2023. And I own Hagos Marketing. I've owned it for about 4 years. So it's full service a digital marketing lead generation firm that helps companies all over the US and a little international. I'm also building a technology, AI powered technology focused around marketing and lead generation. So that's a little about myself. So my question is, your background is so impressive, and I wanted to know, what are some of the ways that you evolved from when you took over the company and when you gave employees some ownership rights, and even a little past that, what are some of the ways that you evolved? And the reason why I ask is because there's a lot that can be learned about the level of readiness that you were at, and how much you grew, and how in the level of education that you had, and how much was actually necessary to evolve to where you got to. And so what are some of the ways that you grew?
Whoa. It's odd, your resumes, as I keep going back to the resumes of those of you on the call, so impressive. I'm almost jealous. I didn't even have a college degree. However, I worked as executive secretary for big companies, and I had some skills. Then I wanted to just rear my children and not be involved in the sort of thing that I was involved in later. But I go back to the fact that you don't quit. You gather the tools you need for the next step. I was really, really behind the power curve in financial expertise. And so I immediately began to take courses, Wharton School and places like that, and try to ramp up, at least so I had an understanding of those who had a complete grasp of accounting and those sorts of things. I was really at odds there. Hard work, don't quit, get what you need, meld it into your own and use it. But yeah, I was not equipped. But there again, I keep going back to listen to your instincts, listen to your gut, give it some meditation, and then do it. Sounds so simple. It's not. I don't mean that, but it finally comes down to, okay, am I going to take this step or not? Am I ready or not? I took a lot of steps when I wasn't ready, and they worked out pretty well. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Appreciate your answer.
Yeah, great question. All right, I see next on deck we have Craig Cummings. Man, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Joseph. Thank you, Diane, for your time. This is really a gift to all of us. I'm in Austin, Texas. I was selected in the Future Business Legend in the veteran category, military veteran category. So I'm new to the community this year, and I run a venture capital firm called Moonshots Capital. Though we don't have any benchmarks, we over-index on military veterans. My business partner is a West Point grad as well. And we over-index on women founders. About 19% of our companies have women on the founding team, and about a third of the companies have diverse founders. But there is no mandate. It's just that we find similar DNA between military veterans, women, people of color, like this perseverance and grit that we really like. So I sit on many boards, and I see a lot of companies transitioning to sort of the post-COVID world that we live in. And I'm curious your thoughts for all of us on this remote hybrid work environment. Some companies going all in on the office, some going all out on an office, and some blending, as you're seeing, a couple of days a week. And I'm curious your thoughts on sort of professional development and just culture and what this means for us, and what you think is maybe best, if you want to make a recommendation?
Best. I can't make that kind of judgment. First of all, let me thank you for your service. We are all deeply grateful. We appreciate it. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I find technology very intimidating. So if I were still involved in the active arena of business, I would be at a great disadvantage. I am not a digital native. I really am. A matter of fact, I could not have set up this call without my assistant. So I'm really at a disadvantage there. However, it's like everything else. It's a tool for good or for ill. The way that you can communicate today is just astounding to me. Two-sided coin, good news, bad news, you know. How do we use this technology? I think overall it's a great boon if the moral structure is there for those who use it. Because it's like any tool. Where's the moral structure? So that's kind of an obtuse answer, but I think you've got to have character. I think you've got to know relationships are critical and respect those human relationships, not just the screen and the sounds. I wish I could be more help, but that's my thought.
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
God bless you.
I know. Great. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Craig. So we got Courtney Gallagher, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Diane. Thank you so much. And by the way, your shirt is beautiful. That is.
I got all dressed up for you.
It's
Dress
lovely.
is wear at the ranch usually.
Very nice. Very nice. My name is Courtney Gallagher. I am the CEO and co-founder of earthviews.com. We create maps like Google Street View, but on rivers, lakes, and shorelines for science and conservation. I'm a 2022 Doug Fauché Veteran Award recipient. And again, thank you so much for your time. It resonated with me when you said you're a risk taker and you're quite happy to go, yeah, let's give that a try. I'm interested to know, though, you know, I love that you said in one of your previous answers, go gather the tools that you need and then go get it done. And I'm interested to know maybe what your decision process was or how you went about how much you go with gut and or whether you have a mentor on should I get the tools myself and do this myself, even though I don't know how to do it, or do I go find somebody else that can do this and so they can help? Like, how much did you just go, I can do this, versus, ooh, bad idea, let's let that person do that?
Oh, I love your question. That's wonderful. Again, thank you for your service before we begin. I think that most of mine has been gut, simply because I didn't have as many tools as most people have today, particularly women in business. You have a whole lot of tools I didn't have. You have experience I didn't have. You have an awareness of the world I didn't have. So much of mine was just intuitive. However, I had so many blessings. When my husband was killed, I had a wonderful old-fashioned attorney, and he worked by his gut and legal mind. He gave me a lot of good advice. I learned a lot from him. For instance, when I get angry, it's very dangerous. I go ballistic. He would always say, now this little man was Irish. He was terribly temperamental and yelling, screaming, all that. When he told me, Diane, my daddy told me those whom the gods would destroy, they first make angry. And I came down on him. What do you mean? You're the most temperamental. He said, I didn't say I took the advice. I said it was good advice. So that was one specific habit that I needed to get under control, because I began to realize that in my superior position, everything I said was through a megaphone. Everything was amplified, and you can hurt people so easily without intending to. So tempering my anger was taught to me by someone with a business relationship with me. And I've just had many, many people along the way who've taught me basic things. Does that help at all? I mean, I guess bottom line is go with your gut, but get some education.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Not at all.
All right, let's see. We got Patrick on deck. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thanks so much, Joseph. Oh, can you all hear me?
I hear you.
We got you, brother.
Okay. Thank you so much, Diane, for your time today. It's a pleasure speaking with you, and just great to kind of understand some of the experience that you've gained throughout your career. And I had a question. I'm kind of in the talent acquisition space and hiring space. I'm building a startup right now on this kind of angle. And what I wanted to do was ask you a little bit about, you kind of touched on it earlier about counseling and mentoring, people on your team. I wanted to ask kind of at the forefront, how do you kind of identify the right people to build the teams that have made you successful in the past? And what do you look for when you're building teams?
It's kind of interesting. Primarily, we were in the pharmacy business. And if I was making a proposal to a pharmacy and therefore to a hospital administrator, am I going to keep that person in the pharmacy on? Let me go in and talk to them. I would always try to drop something. And if they looked at it like, what? They're not highly motivated to action. But if they get to it before they were ready to move, I liked that. So that bias for action is something, and I'm not recommending this, but that's something that I did use. And I found out after the nucleus of my company, about 5 individuals came to work. And as we grew rapidly, by the end of my career, we had 500 hospitals. I would usually use them to hire the next person, because my philosophy was nobody's going to hire somebody that's going to screw up their company. And these young men, women were wanting to advance, and they didn't want to hire somebody that was going to be a bad mark on them. Anyway, kind of like a relay race, you hand it off. Anyway, it was great fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Not at all. I wish I could help more. You guys are so impressive. Your resumes are just intimidating. I love it. I feel better about our country.
Thanks, Diane. Well, we got 2 more, y'all, and thank you for letting us go a little over, Diane, and everybody tuning in right now. So we'll go with Ryan, and then we got Ayo after that, and then we'll close it out. So Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Diane. My name is Ryan Saavedra. I am the CEO and founder of a medical device company called Alt Bionics, and we build affordable bionic hands for amputees. And I'm honored to say that I'm the recipient of the Sean D. Kennedy Award of Excellence in Empathy and Innovation this year. My question for you is, when you took over Owen Healthcare, you said, or I think JC mentioned, that you were under a lot of pressure to sell your company. And what was your thinking behind not doing it? I can't imagine that was an easy decision to make.
It was not. At the time of my husband's death, we had 20 agreements. We didn't call them contracts, we called them agreements. Because if you're not in agreement, you don't have a contract. But anyway, we had 20. 17 of those were held by a major hospital management company. So when my husband was killed, they asked me to lunch and said they wanted to buy my company. I guess that's when that anger I mentioned earlier comes out, because I thought, whoa, this company's not for sale. At the same time, my back was against the wall. I had 2 children I needed to rear. Things did not look good for our company at all. But they then said, if you don't sell, we're going to pull our agreements immediately. And that sure got my attention, but it made me very, very determined to keep my company, to protect the people who had already built what they had. And so I did. And that was my decision. I wish I had a more scientific reason for it, but all of a sudden I was offended. I did not want my people working for my people. See how I talk? My people working for someone with that kind of morality. That's the end.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Did I not answer it properly? Tell me.
No, it's just, yeah, no, I was just curious.
It was the right thing to do. Then you do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to get these quick reminders about how sometimes the big decisions can just come down to simple principles. So thanks, Diane. All right, we got one more. Io, we got you on deck and close us out.
Great.
Thanks, Joseph. And thank you so much, Diane. As everyone echoed, we appreciate you being here. My name is Idella Akeby, and I am a 2019 recipient. I have a company called Hangyo. We are a premium clothing care company, so we help people make their clothes last longer. How we're currently doing that is through a flexible, bendable hanger that can mold in 6 ways. So it can hold some, like a sweater, not give you bumps. It can do a turtleneck without stretching out. It can even hang a scarf. So I've been super interested and passionate about entrepreneurship and business. So I've been taking in everything that you've been saying. And I think that piece about relationships matter is so important. I'm curious to know, what was the emotional impact of implementing ESOP beyond the financial, beyond what people were able to get from the sale? What was that emotional impact to your people, and maybe further even your legacy?
I guess it keeps coming back to, it was the right thing to do. These people built that company, and I'm sitting there owning all of it. That they had ownership already, although not legally. And so it was a very win-win type of situation. I was able to become more liquid personally, as well as giving them the opportunity to develop real wealth. It was very motivating to them. Although at first they didn't understand it, they were really mad that they might not be able to contribute to a 401k. So there was an education process there, but it worked out very, very well. And it was the right thing to do. They built the company. I didn't build that company. I protected them. I led. I didn't go out and sell 500 contracts to 500 different hospitals. They did. So it became very easy. I wanted to share. I would have shared more, but I couldn't finance the buyout. So anyway, that's it. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry if it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Diane.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
So I know we've gone past, and there are others that wanted to ask questions, and I'm sorry we didn't get to y'all, but Diane, I wish you could read all the messages about you that have been taking place, about how impressed everyone is by this particular call and your humility and kindness. And it's so interesting. Last year was our 40th anniversary, and we were able to watch all the acceptance speeches, including yours, from the last 40 years. We have most of them, not all. And it's interesting, from all these business titans, the most common thing you hear, and what we heard throughout this call today, is they all say, put people first. And I love that people who put people first still get ahead. And thank you for reminding us of that today. And what a pleasure and honor it's been to host you. And thank you for making time. Next week, everyone, we have another female business leader. We're so excited. 2 in a row, Lucy Billingsley out of Dallas, one of the biggest developers in the DFW area. That should be a lot of fun, and we encourage you all to attend. That'll be at 11 a.m. and not our usual noon. So we'll see everyone there. Diane, thank you so much again.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you, Meredith.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Diane.